Hello, everyone, and welcome to CCHA, also known as Clinton County Historical Museum, here in Clinton County in upstate New York, in Plattsburgh somewhere. We have a great, as always, great guest and a great leader in our community that we gonna get to see what more can we know about him personally and how he make it so he can set aside some example to our community. Our guest today, he's a special person. And Knelly, how are you?
Nice to see you, Lamia.
Thank you. Are you ready to do this?
I think so. At least ready to start doing
Yes.
it. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
So, how long you been living in Plattsburgh? Are you living in Plattsburgh? Do you live in Plattsburgh?
Yeah, I live in West Plattsburgh, sort of between Banker Orchards and Ronnie's, Michigan State.
Oh, the best place.
Yeah, and it's been here about 12 years.
12 years.
Mhm.
Are you originally from here, Ken?
We're just from Baltimore, Maryland.
No,
Mhm.
I did not know that. Well, we talked about that.
Yeah, grew up there.
You grow up there.
Yeah, great place.
So when did you move up here?
Well, there's a long and winding road. It's
Yeah.
not like from here to there, but yeah, I came here in 2014 to work at SUNY Plattsburgh.
You started at SUNY Plattsburgh.
Yeah.
Up here. How do you like it here?
Well, today, as we're recording this, it's 52 degrees outside.
I know.
So it's a wonderful day.
Yes.
I think you get used to that at some level, and this winter's been pretty steady. But it's a nice location. As you know, I mean, it's a great community with lots of great organizations, great people. Geographically, sits in a nice spot. I mean, we can go to Montreal, go to the Adirondacks, Burlington, all those things that we sell, the place on and stuff. So it's a great location. And when I moved here, my oldest daughter was going into high school. My next daughter was going into middle school, and my son was in his last year of elementary school. So they finished all their time. Two graduated college and moved, and my son goes to Clinton Community College.
He went to Clinton Community
He goes
College.
there now. Yeah.
Oh, now.
Yep.
So if you say, like, Knelly, did you have it tough growing up?
I don't think so. I grew up in I would say, middle class suburb, inner ring suburb of Baltimore, Towson, Lutherville, right on if anybody's familiar with the Baltimore Beltway, exit 26, that's where I grew up. And pretty uneventful childhood. I was fortunate when I was growing up that all four of my grandparents, my dad's parents and my mom's parents, lived within a half hour away, and I had them in my life all the way through into college. So that was pretty important, probably pretty formful. I'm an only child, so that
You're the only child.
I'm the only one. Yeah,
Mm.
only one that I know of.
That's it.
There goes the podcast now.
Oh.
So, yeah.
So you are the only child. That's
Yeah.
something new. So you don't have siblings. Of course, you're the only. How would that feel like? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it's just what it is, right? I mean, it's what you grow up with. It's what you know. So I don't know anything different. It gives you some responsibility with your parents because
Yeah.
you're kind of the one to kind of see that through. Both of them are still living in the Baltimore area. So they've had two houses in the last, since 1965, whatever that is, so 61 years.
So you lived
they're pretty
there?
stable, yeah.
You lived there until you moved here. You never moved
No,
somewhere
no,
else?
I lived there until I went to college.
Okay.
And I went to college, so I guess we have to do the biography part here.
Yes,
So let's
yes.
talk about
We
that.
want people.
Yeah.
So the reason we're doing that podcast and we always talk about this
Yeah.
is you are a leader in the community. Obviously, your role right now, it affects a lot of people. So we want to show people that leaders are also human
Mm-hmm.
and they struggle day to day just like everyone else. So if one person out of watching us now will learn something to be Knelly, so that you can just show us how did you make it? How did you make it?
Well, I'm not sure how I made it.
Which is
Yeah,
it's
but-
yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and went to community college there, Essex Community College, and then from there, I went to University of Minnesota in Duluth, Minnesota, got my undergraduate degree. After that, I went to West Virginia University. I did law school for a bit. Then I transferred into the public policy program,
Hmm.
and then that was where I met my wife Vicky. So that's early '90s, late '80s, early '90s, that period of time, and got a degree there. And then I worked in thoroughbred horse racing.
Hmm.
After that, I had done some of that when I was the proximity to Pimlico and Laurel. I worked with a trainer there, and then worked at racetracks after graduation, and then was in that industry for a while, and then essentially I later transitioned into journalism, print journalism. My first newspaper was the Cecil Whig in northeastern Maryland, WHIG, like the political party. Uh, and then I worked at some different newspapers in different parts of the country, West Virginia, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, and then moved out of print journalism into higher education and worked for a time for a small college in the Scranton, Pennsylvania area. And that's from there I moved to Plattsburgh. So there's times and dates with all that stuff, but that's essentially the path, as it were.
So is long marriage, happy marriage, does anything to do with your success?
So my wife is watching this probably now, right?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Be
yeah,
careful.
yeah, for sure. That stability. So let me see. We got married in 1991, so that'll be 35 years this year. Doesn't seem like it, but
Congratulations, Ken.
thanks. It's so 35 years, three kids, um, all that stuff, and so yeah. But no, Vic's critical to everything, so all the time.
So what
Talked
is?
to her before I was coming here.
Did you?
Why are you doing this podcast?
What did you say?
I have to. No. Actually, I said it's because I have a lot of respect for Lamia,
Thank you.
And I want to do it because it's important to her. So
Oh,
you know,
thank you.
yeah.
And it's very important to really show the leaders around the community. I don't think people understand the depth of time and volunteer time. And you're one of the people, you were the president of the Rotary Club in 20.
22, I think, something like that.
Yeah, how is it? How did you do it with all the responsibility you have?
Rotary Club president. Well, anybody who's been Rotary Club president would say that once you tackle the issue of food,
Yeah,
then you're
I
pretty
heard that.
much home free. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of times managing different things, it's really a matter of planning, scheduling, allotting stuff out. Doesn't mean it's perfect. Sometimes you're oversubscribed on things and all that. So it's always a work in progress with stuff. But I think it's you know speaking of Rotary, I mean it's a great organization, but it's mostly the community, and it's one of the largest clubs like that in certainly in New York. I mean, I think we have like 120 members, something like that, from all walks of life. So I look forward to those meetings when we get there.
Have you thought you're gonna be the president of Clinton Community College and where you at today? 5, 6, maybe 10 years ago, when you were working in the newspaper business, have you see yourself where you at today?
No, and I think a lot of times, certainly in my life, um, whatever I think is going to happen probably doesn't happen, or something
Doesn't.
doesn't happen. I mean, it's interesting. Newspaper business has, and you were in it, so
We share that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so's Ben, who's behind the camera there. I'm revealing a source there.
It's out now.
Yeah, but I think it's changed, and newspapers aren't a part of our everyday life in the same form as they used to be. But I was thinking about this because over the Christmas break, I went on a train car trip with my son. So it was about 8 days. We went all across the South, largely, and I went back to Columbia, South Carolina, which is where I lived when I worked at the state newspaper, and I worked there twice. Um, but I think the first time that I went there, probably like '99, something like that, there were about 150, 160 people in the newsroom. And the newspaper is still around today, but it has far less. And the building that the newspaper was in was this really nice large building. They printed the paper there, all this kind of stuff. And when we got back to Columbia just a couple months ago, I went back to the building and they've since moved out of there, so it's empty. And then I saw on social media recently they're tearing it down, so the whole building's going to be kind of torn down. I just watched this video actually earlier today, and it was the company that's actually doing the demolition, and they have this camera kind of going through the newsroom and all these kind of things and stuff, and it's empty and it's going to be gone, So, and I remember when I first went in there, my wife was reminding me of this today. I went down there to interview for a job. I was working at a small paper in West Virginia, and it was kind of an aspirational jump. I wanted to be an editorial writer at the paper. They had a job. I didn't get that job, but they had a reporter job open. And I didn't necessarily want to go back to doing that, but it was open. So I went in there. When the first time I went to interview there, I remember going in the newsroom and I told my wife it was like Walmart. It was this just really large room, desks, areas and stuff, and it was a great place to work, and
It always
it's helpful
amazes
that
me
way.
how we are as a newspaper. Like if you then you take that all the way with you, and it really does help you. Does Knelly have fear in life?
Fear. Well, yes, I'm sure. I'm trying to think about how best to frame that. I'm not like scared of the dark
Mm.
and things like that,
Yeah.
but I worry about things. Certainly when you have positions of responsibility, I'm acting president of a college, and so things you think, and of course we've been through a lot even to get to the point where we are.
Mm.
So you feel the weight of decisions, and so you are always thinking about that. It impacts people,
Mm.
and you always want to do the best you can. And in the careers I've had, they're often public facing, kind of things. I mean, as a journalist, what you do is in the paper, everybody sees that, and so I think that responsibility that you feel can have fear kind of within that because you don't want to mess up, you don't want to make a bad decision or bad decisions, but you know at some level that there's going to be some in there that you wish you had back and those kind of things. So I worry about doing the wrong thing at times, but not so much that you don't do things because that's the other side of it too,
Yep.
right?
So if Knelly have the power that you control Google, and we go into you're gonna search your name,
Uh-huh.
and you have the power to put down the first four result that it's gonna come. What would you say about yourself that you want people to read?
Uh, well, see, Google might have other things, when you put it in there,
But you
or
have the
AI.
power now.
AI has
But
the
it's
power,
it's
so
under your control.
yeah.
How would you like it to be, and what would it show?
Yeah. Well, I think so. One word answers for those each one. I can probably do like hyphenated stuff to get more in there, but
Or you can say sentence.
yeah,
Four
I don't know. I mean,
sentence.
I'd say that what I want people to say about me or to think about me is that I work hard, that the effort's there to make, and that I'm trying to make a difference, trying to benefit others, and that I try to take a selfless approach to things. Maybe that's probably four, but that's a framing of it. I mean, that's the real me, and I think really. Um, at some point, like being in this community for 12 years, people know who I am by now.
And you did quite
So
great.
yeah, but I think if you're when you come in and you're new to a job or anything else like that, folks don't really know you, and so, but in time, whoever you are reveals itself.
Yes. Yes. So life is if we say life is a pizza, and the slices in it get cuts in different way. But at the end of the day, this is not true. But we just saying.
Do we say what's on the pizza?
No, I wanted to ask you
Okay.
even more deeper
Okay.
question.
Pepperoni and onion. It's my favorite.
And most
pizza.
people don't know how funny you are because you would say something that just doesn't happen.
Well, no, we're talking about pizzas, and I do like pizza. But pepper and if anybody's going to order pizza from me sometime, get pepper and onion.
No, good. We're gonna have the pizza, and it's gonna be cut slices.
Okay.
Everyone in this world gets the 4-round pizza, but someone gets one slice have more money, one slice have more joy. What is your favorite slice, and which slice that you have? It's more less than your favorite slice?
So you mean like the first slice? Is that
Yeah.
what you're
So
talking
the
about? Or just,
pizza, we're gonna cut it in four
four pieces. Okay, we got it.
four slices.
Okay,
Which
not 8.
no,
Okay,
just four. It's a small one.
you're gonna regret this podcast.
No, never.
So it's
I'm
4 slices.
actually honored to have
4 slices of the pizza. Okay,
Yes.
got it.
So you're gonna choose a slice of it.
Mhm.
This is the highest that life has gave you. Then the one after is least until you go down to one that, hey, I didn't do so well on that, but I have my good slice. Life is good. I get the full slice. So what's the first best slice you have in life?
So
Which is a job, kids, joy,
got it.
health.
Okay, I think family is the first slice. And you mentioned Vicky, or I mentioned Vicky, my wife, my kids. One of the things I was actually driving here. My oldest daughter uh, graduated from SUNY Plattsburgh. She now works at a zoo in Florida, Brevard Zoo. Lives in Orlando. Does communication and marketing for the zoo. My next daughter, Cheyenne, works for it's called Energy New England. It's a company that buys and sells electricity for municipal utilities in New England. Um, and she's with Connor. Clarice is with Jack. They all went to Saranac High School. And then my son Daniel is home going to community college. That's kind of the core. We had a St. Bernard named Crystal that was really a part of that. She passed away last October. Um, and then I have a horse, Tano, a 15-year-old Morgan that lives near the house. So that's family. That's the close family. Then, of course, my parents in Baltimore. But I think really, that core is there. And I think particularly I'm finding when your adult children move away, it's different, because I used to be able, we're just going to go here and everybody's going, and it doesn't work that way anymore. But just last night, we had there was the United Way dinner last night. And so after that, I came home. And then my wife was calling my Orlando daughter, they were coming back from SeaWorld. And then my other daughter, somehow they can join in on the phone in one thing, and it was just great to have that thing. You kind of want them all to be there and stuff, but they have their own lives to live and that kind of thing. But I think the first slice is family. I think the next slice is probably community. I'm following your thing here now, so that's the right answer. Yeah. So because I think where you live and making a difference where you live, leaving the campsite better than you found it. I was a Boy Scout, Eagle Scout back in the day, and we used to have a thing in Troop 340 that was leave the campsite better than you found it. So I kind of carry that with me with things, and so whatever I'm trying to do in the community, is a part of that. Everything kind of runs the through line there, and that's connected to maybe there's a tie for that second, third, one because currently running the college, is kind of a consuming thing to try and provide opportunities, educational opportunities for it's we say that everything is in the name, right? Clinton Community College, so Clinton is where we are, community is where we're serving, and the college is what it does. And so but I think making that successful and making it so that it has impact for things is probably good. So that's 3 slices. Fourth slice, I probably should have fun in there somewhere. It's like otherwise it's pretty boring. I still, even though I worked in thoroughbred horse racing, decades ago, I'm still connected to it. Still watch it. Still enjoy it. And so when Saratoga is running, I like going down there. I try and bring people down there, and so I've gone to Saratoga with them, but other people too. So maybe that's the fourth slice.
I love that. I love all of your pizza. Maybe you can sell it somewhere.
Yeah, as long as it's pepper and onion.
Oh, pepper and onion. Have you have time in your life, Ken, when you thought, this is hard, it's sad, it's down, or a moment where you wake up in the morning and your life just not the same, which it could be anything.
Last week, probably. The challenges are always there. I mean, I think, at least for me, it's not every day is like an up and down, kind of thing. And the people that know me the best see all that. I have, I'm a pretty transparent, person, which, has made me not good at poker. But I'm just, what you see is what you get, right? So if it's a bad day, sometimes that kind of comes through that way. But I think when you have responsibility and you put yourselves in positions of responsibility, it comes with that weight. And I don't know, I can't not do that. So I have to put myself in those positions, but then I put myself in that sort of worrying about stuff and not being down sometimes about those things. So it's just, I think that's just normal. But
You believe in mental health, of course.
I'm for it. Yes, yeah.
How is your mental health, Ken, with every change and everything you went through the last few years? And I'm talking career-wise, it's a lot.
Yeah. I, I'd say the state of the union is good most of the time. You know, I would say, like in my experience with the college, you know, sometimes it seems like every day has the best possible news and the worst possible news. You know, that all happen at the same time. Like something you've been working for. Oh, there it is. Wow, this is great. And then, oh, this is coming up, and I got to deal with this. You know, so and the way they sometimes package together, you know, day to day, it's kind of like, and this has happened in probably all of our lives before, but it's kind of like, let's say you get like a check or something you weren't expecting or something. It's like, wow, this is great. And then a bill comes and it's more, and it's like almost the exact penny of what you got. Like, come on, really? It's like, but that happens. And so I think there's something in there that's that way. And I guess you should be grateful that you got the one check that pays for the other thing, instead of being down that it took the money out to go the other way.
So since you shared with us that you didn't expect, like you didn't see it, like 5 years, 10 years, you didn't see yourself where you at today. So therefore, if it was, you have the power to go back to the 20 years old Ken, what would you advise him, advise yourself, or tell yourself today? If you have that power.
Yeah, that's one of those weird things to think about. You know, because we all have these things. You know, I remember there was when I went to Scranton, Pennsylvania, to work the newspaper there, and I had applied for a job in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I really wanted to work in Harrisburg because it was a good newspaper and it was closer to Baltimore, where the parents were, in West Virginia, where Vicky's family was, and I applied for a job as I think it was business editor, and didn't get it. And then I had also applied for a job in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and then I got that job. And then I was in Scranton, like, I mean, it was a week or two, not even, something like that. And I get a call from Harrisburg offering me that job. And I didn't take it. And same thing had happened to me actually in West Virginia, the paper there. And it was kind of a stupid decision because I should, you know, more money, better job, what I want to do and stuff like that. But I felt an obligation to the people that hired me to be there and do that, you know. And I've had a few things over the years that have been those kinds of things from a standpoint of a job you apply for or something like that. Certainly, like in the newspaper business, and you know about journalism, especially if you're starting at a small paper, you don't really make any money. And so then you have a family and those kind of things. You have to try and move up. You know, if you're going to do that, you could try and stay at the same place, but then that you're just subject to whether you get, you know, another position opens up. And at small papers, there's not a lot of jobs, you know, in that respect. So, but back to the 20-year-old Ken. I don't know. I think I wouldn't undo anything because, of course, you undo something, then you don't know what happens after that anyway. But everything. All those experiences of all the different things that I've done have enabled me to do this, because all those things are a part of that. You know, it's kind of a mixture of things, I guess. But
so, as your background in business of the newspaper, how would you put it in sentence to a young person out there who's trying, who likes certain things, likes the newspaper, who don't see himself doing something else, but here you are, you did all of this and now you're actually doing something completely different. So how you encourage them, hang in there and
Well,
you put your experience.
Yeah, the first thing you have to do is explain to a young person what a newspaper is, because and this is true. So I'm in a doctoral program right now, getting a doctor of education at Iowa State. It's a long story there, but so with that program, I take it's 3-year program, 1-year dissertation, 2 years of classes, and you have 2 classes each semester, and then for one time each class you go to Iowa for your cohort meeting, right? So that means I have 6 trips to Iowa in the next 2 years. I have a pattern now, so I go to Burlington, I fly to Chicago, then to Des Moines, rent a car, go up, back, and this whole thing, right? So I'm coming back on Sundays, from Des Moines, through O'Hare, back to Burlington. So my routine now is when I get to Chicago, I buy the Chicago Tribune and I buy the New York Times, so I can read it on the plane going back to Burlington. Chicago is a pretty big airport there. I don't think I've ever seen another person reading a newspaper besides me. They sell them, so somebody must be getting them. But and I actually got a flight one time, and a woman sat down next to me, and she said, "Oh my goodness, a newspaper!" That's what she said to me. And I was like, "Yeah, they have them. You still have
We
them."
love the newspaper.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that
Well,
people understand that if you work in a
yeah.
newspaper, you just put the newspaper in.
I went to Stewart's this morning.
Yeah.
My son and I
We
have
love
breakfast
it.
on Sundays, and I bought the New York Times. I do every Sunday. But back to that. What was the original question? I was off on that. It was something about the newspapers, young people in newspapers.
No,
and,
no.
oh, the jobs.
The
things,
like
okay,
things
yeah.
that you have your eye on, and then you have to
Yeah, well,
go through life.
I think it's maybe in some ways it's maybe easier than it used to be, because recently I'm trying to think when I used this example, but like Facebook started in like 2004 or something like that, right? I don't remember the exact dates, and Twitter about the same year, Google at least that time, and then all these different kind of things that are now just part of everyday life. Cell phones, like 2000, I think it was the Apple phone was 2007, something like that. I'm looking at Ben.
Yeah.
He knows. But it's something like that, Frank, right? So that's not long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the entirety of everything we do is now framed around that.
Yeah.
But they didn't exist, not even a lifetime ago, just, for what, I was, so I got married in 91, okay, so I remember, I was talking to somebody the other day, the last class I was taking in my doctoral program was on statistics, regression analysis, all this stuff that's not in my wheelhouse. But I did that in grad school.
Mm-hmm.
And we used a dot matrix printer for this stuff, and you'd sit there and you'd look at this thing going, do all these things. So it's just a whole different, world. But I think the speed and the velocity of change is just so much that I don't think it's a stretch for people to understand that, hey, what you're doing now is not maybe what it's going to be before, because even in the lifetime of young people, they've seen, things change. But I think the connecting point, we have a lot of these conversations about AI, now trying to wrestle with that. But I think that what's never going to go away is thought, is values, ethics, work ethic, and just knowledge. It's the higher ideals of sort of trying to just understand and help others and those things. That doesn't go away. So I think those holding on to those kind of things in the midst of the change, it doesn't so much matter what you're doing as how you're doing it and sort of what you bring to it.
Do you worry about the next generation when it comes to educations and entering the college world?
I don't know, worry is the right word, but it's I think what I struggle with trying to understand and react to is the value of education, or the replacement, in some ways the replacement because of technology, replacing the thinking behind doing something, and then maybe some folks not valuing the thought that goes behind things because they can kind of skip that step and just go on to the next thing, because expertise, education, all those things are critical to all of us collectively, not in an elitist sense, but just in the sense of just being able to understand and do and act, with care and understanding history. I mean, we're sitting in the historical museum, and before we were talking, I was looking at an old map of Plattsburgh. You took me through the wedding dress room and stuff, and then behind us are all these rail cars from the Delaware and Hudson. Um, and those are all, at the time that those were happening, that was everything to the person in that world. They didn't think of another world. I think that's, and Favreau would probably talk about this if she was in here, but one of the things that I think is important to try and understand in history is the context of the time. Like, they didn't know that this next thing was going to happen. They were just living in the world like we're living in the world. We don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. What's Plattsburgh going to be like in 5 years? Do we have 5 new transportation companies building things in the area? Do we have 5 less transportation companies building things in the area? I mean, the air base was here and it was the dominant, and then it was gone, and so all those things change. And so I think I feel like I'm pretty far from the pizza right now, but.
I love that, Ken. You actually brought up a very valid point.
Yeah.
That all of this history that we lived, it's not here. Some of it, not operating the same way.
Yeah.
So why do we even, but maybe we have more knowledge of what's happening, so we kind of worry about what's going to happen?
Well, I think also it's like knowing what happened and why.
Mm-hmm.
Why is you can get geopolitical to everyday street level stuff, but I think just to talk about Rotary for a second, one of the things that is a feature of that organization locally is the club meets every Wednesday and there's speakers on things, and so last week it was Parker maple syrup was there, and so they're talking about, well, there was a time it was made this way, then it was made that way, now we got these tanks. And then somebody's asking, well, can we do a demonstration so we can see how it used to be made? Which is a fair thing, but it's never going to be the way it was. And because I think I read this somewhere, I can't remember, but it was kind of like if you could say yes or no, like cell phones, social media, all that stuff, and just you either have it all or none of it. And I would take none of it.
I was going to just ask you which one would you take?
But there's a lot of negative that comes with that, because there's a lot of positive that goes with the other stuff. It's just, we kind of forget, like we make jokes about. I remember we're doing a bowling thing at Clinton Community College during spring break week, so we're closing early on that Mondays, and everybody on campus who wants to can go to the bowling alley and have kind of a gathering and a fun time and stuff. And I remember when I was a kid, my dad was a bowler, and so I would bowl on Saturday mornings, and I would go to the bowling alley, and my mom or dad would drop me off, and they'd give me a quarter, and then when I was done bowling, I'd go to the payphone, I'd put the quarter in, I'd let the phone ring 2 times, I'd hang it up, get the quarter back, and they'd know when the phone rang twice, and it was nothing else, it was time to go pick up Kenny at the bowling alley. And I guess that quarter must have lasted for, and I did, when I was in college in Minnesota, I did the same thing. I would call him twice, hang up, and then call, because it was cheaper than a collect call. And I think about, I remember even when I worked in horse racing, before I was married, I was working at the racetracks in New Jersey, and Vicki was living in West Virginia. She was a year behind me, and we were getting married, and I would call her from the racing office, where we would do things and stuff. And then at one time I got called in, it's like, we have all these calls to West Virginia, and it's like a lot of money, but now, think about it, because it's free, essentially. So, everything's different, and it's the way it is, so you just have to, that's why I think the values and the character things are the most important things, because those are the things that move forward, and they're also the things that can actually help us collectively value things, because I think that's what's lacking in a lot of respects. When we start not valuing people and not caring, then we really begin to lose.
I love that, Ken. And see, people don't know how deep of a person you are. Now they're going to know.
But that's good.
Do you worry about what's about tomorrow in general in your heart sometimes? Or you just go with the flow and
like Monday, you mean, or like tomorrow? Well, actually, tomorrow I'm driving down to Hartford, Connecticut, just down and back in a day. But with Clinton Community College and the relocation, during all that process, um, there was so this is probably like summer of '24, and we're trying to figure out what how the new location will look and how things will map. So the State University Construction Fund hired a company to map out all of the rooms and things like that, and the construction fund worked on stuff. Anyway, now it's almost 2 years later, um, and this company is presenting all the work they did in the relocation of the campus at this national conference of college and university planners and stuff like that. So um, they're um, so I'm driving down. It's like a 1 hour presentation thing just to share with all those people about the story. And so they have this PowerPoint thing they're doing and stuff like that. Um, but we're at the college very grateful to all those folks who did all those things, and I'm really only going down there because it's important to them, that to be there and stuff. And I told them when we were doing one of those practice calls, I said if this was like in California, I would drive there to be there because it matters to you because you did all this stuff for us. So I think that's where. So I'm not worried about tomorrow. Now I might have 5 emails here about things that have broken in somewhere, and because I get all those emails too, and then try and figure out that stuff.
That,
Yeah.
I know you said everything you went through made you who you are today, but do you really truly have any regret if time goes back you would have done something different, even though now you love everything of your life? We understand that. But if you have the power to go back, what did you regret in life?
Yeah, I don't know. I think probably if I sat here for like an hour, a couple hours, and just wrote a bunch of stuff down, I think I would. I don't. There's nothing macro I would change because
Yes,
all those
yes,
things have just sort of happened. I
yes.
think there's probably things I said to people or things I did at times, different stuff that I probably wish I hadn't done. Back then because one of the things that comes with the gray hair is you have a little bit more
Empathy.
patience, or you understand things a little bit more, and so you're less of a hothead or whatever it might be. So I think that's those kind of things probably. Yeah.
What would you, if you had the magic stick around you to to put a power on one thing in the world right now, and it's not anything on TV. We don't go politician. We don't talk about that. But other than work more on the ethic part and all of that beautiful stuff you said, if one thing you can change with that stick, what would you change today, Ken?
Well, I would change some of the political stuff, but this is a non-political podcast,
Yes.
so we're not going to do that. I think it really is that I think somebody mentioned this last night at the United dinner, and it really wasn't said really in a political way, but I think collectively, at a broader level, I think people are tired of just the the acrimony, the stuff, the arrows back and forth, the characterizations of things, just the constant battles of motives and things that are said and attacks on people and things. And I think it just like if we're going to, and I think that's at some level that's the attraction of community, right? In the small community, because we can manage for the most part in a place like Plattsburgh to sort of have some level of cognitive dissonance and just sort of say, well, there's this other stuff going on, but we can get along and we can do things, and we need to kind of do that. And I think that happens. Um, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that other stuff isn't happening or that other stuff isn't going on. And I think just if we could have more, and I don't, you talked about newspapers before, and I'm just thinking about this because my favorite job I had in all my newspaper jobs over the years was I was the editorial page editor at a little paper in West Virginia. I think I was maybe the first and only person who ever had that job because it was added in, and then I think when I left, somebody did it, and then of course with all the cutbacks, it never came back. But I had all these kind of idealistic things at the time. We did this community columnist program, and I recruited 8 people, and one of them is still She's 99 years old, I think 99. Still lives in West, well, now she lives just in Maryland, just across the line. But still connected to family, still calls Vicky. But it was this community thing, and this sense of, if we have letters to the editor and we have other things like we can kind of collectively get there together by respecting other people's opinions and doing those things. So without knowing it, like I could see the through lines. You don't really know them at the time, but I think sometimes people end up doing what it is who they are, even if they don't realize they're getting to that point. But I think to your original thing, I think that broader stuff, that if that spirit could be carried at other levels, and we could remove ourselves from the characterizations and things, because I think that's where I always thought newspapers provided context, and when you're curating sources and stories and things to present kind of a full contour of things, and when people have a central meeting place, so everybody's getting some of the same information. The downside is there's fewer voices, and so it's incumbent upon those voices to really be reflective of things. But on the other side, if everybody is seeing those things, we're not so fragmented on things, because I kind of think it's almost like as a collective, as a country and stuff, we're moving from a marriage to roommates. It's sort of like America, was this place that had people that were really kind of the shared values and the shared things together, and now it's sort of like we're just living together, and it's not really in the same connection there. And so, maybe if we can get back somehow to that, I don't have the answer to that though. So, yeah.
How do you, speaking of that, and speaking of the life and the life you make out of it, so how do you set up an example when it comes to your mom and dad? How's your relationship with them?
Good. Um, I wish they were closer, and I can see them more often. They drive up here, usually a couple times a year. We usually go down there some, and I've sometimes taken trips to see them for different things. They're pretty self-sustaining with things, but they are getting older, so you do think about those things, and just how to respond to that and be the best thing. But they're doing well, and yeah, I call them, you know, often when I'm just driving home from work, I'll just call
Best time, yeah.
on a thing. Yeah, it's one of the magics of the vehicles now is you can just pop the thing in, just have
Yeah.
a call, and then have that. But yeah, we keep up with stuff,
Do
together.
you sometimes talk to your son and feel like, oh, I did that to my dad? Do you have that moment where you're like, oh,
I think well, it's interesting. He talks a lot less than I do, but maybe that's because sometimes you want to, as a parent, even you want to kind of and part is probably me too. Just I want him to understand how things are, so you're teaching in that regard and stuff too. But he's a great kid, so he's awesome. Um, yeah.
and how do you, just to give an example of a great leader, a successful person in our community, how do you have 35 years marriage? What's the secret of that?
Yeah, well, Vicky would have a better answer to that probably.
I'm sure.
I don't know. I mean, uh, we have. Uh, I mean, I never would have planned the road that we had together. In different things, because we lived in different places, and I've had different jobs, and different things along the way. Um, I mean, we love each other, and we're connected, and so I think it starts with that, and just trying to know that each other has the best interest of the other at heart and stuff, and then you work through disagreements. Boy, this sounds like I'm much better than I really am. Yes, but yeah, you kind of we've made it well. Yeah, that is a while.
Yeah. So if like young couple, young adult just getting married, how do you advise them? You say, focus on this to be 35 years later sitting here said, oh, I did all that because of my wife, just like you saying, or she was big part and she did a lot. What would you advise a young gentleman or
Yeah, I never really thought of myself as a marriage counselor, and trying to do that. Um, I mean, I think that I think Vicky has sacrificed, more for me than I have for her. Certainly career wise and
Mm.
stuff. We've moved a lot and things like that. And she's a very much of a giving person and stuff. And so, um, it's been easy in some ways for me to have somebody like that, who's such a caring person. So, they tell you in kind of the marriage books to value the other person above yourself, and then that will be successful. So there's probably part of that too. That's but yeah, I'm not the expert on that. Yeah.
So, do you have a hobby, Ken?
Well, the horse racing thing,
Yeah.
just kind of I watch them on television, handicap races and stuff. Trying to pick, winners of races and things. So I do that on the weekends some. Uh, I have a smoker, uh, Traeger, to do like brisket and stuff like that
Okay.
for the summer and things. Which if you get a pellet smoker, so for all of the folks at home, a pellet smoker is the greatest invention ever.
Okay. Tell us more.
Yeah, so you get wood pellets, okay, and
Okay.
so you fill it up, and so take something like a brisket or a pork butt or something like that, and you can put that in like a barbecue, lower temperature, longer time, and so and what the pellet does is it allows it to be a wood fire that has an even temperature the whole time, so you don't have to like be measuring the temperature all the time and putting the wood in there. Just it goes, and you can get an app on your phone. Back to the technology, and then you can just determine the temperature and all that kind of stuff, and you can just leave it alone, and then you get brisket, and it's the greatest thing in the world. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's I guess kind of a hobby. I feed the squirrels in the back.
Do you?
Yeah, the critter food and stuff. Although it's getting warm. Once the snow melts,
They don't come as much.
nah, you're just not supposed to feed them
Okay.
much because then they can get their own stuff.
Okay.
Kinda. And I don't know if it's actually good to feed them off the winter because you help keep them around, but then maybe there's too many of them later. And I'm not a wildlife biologist, so maybe I'm actually doing bad things. But
So, how about, do you like reading?
I do read. Yeah, I do read. I didn't really think of it as a hobby, but yeah, I get a couple magazines and read those, and then I try to read books. I read last book I read was the biography of Jim Henson from the Muppets, because when I was on the trip with Daniel, we went to Leland, Mississippi,
Mm.
which was the boyhood home of Jim Henson, who and there really was a Kermit who was one of his friends when he was growing up. But fascinating biography about his life and all the things that he did. And he actually grew up not really young. He was in Mississippi, but then sort of suburban Maryland. So it actually wasn't too far from where I grew up. Different time frame. Um, but it's interesting because in his life, he got into sort of the puppeteering sort of by accident. He really wanted to be in variety shows and things like that. And then he was almost on a lifelong conquest of proving that puppets and those kind of things could be for adults.
Mm.
He did the Sesame Street stuff, which was very successful, but folks would often think puppets were for kids, and he kind of proved that it was a different thing, and obviously tragically died, in his 50s. But I like to read those kind of books. So I have a book on Rosa Parks. It's my next one to read because
Oh.
we went through Montgomery, Alabama, where they had the Rosa Parks Museum. There's a wonderful facility that Equal Justice Initiative has there, where it marks the whole history of African Americans in America and the history of slavery and lynching in America. And it's a very sad time, obviously, but it also helps as an interpretive center really bring that to life. And so I picked up that Rosa Parks book. So that's my next one on deck. And then I have a book on Man of War to read, Greatest Racehorse of the 20th Century, except maybe Secretary. It's probably a debate about that.
Oh, you're reading good stuff.
Well, I'm not up there yet. Like, it's on the shelf. We could be having this conversation a month or 2 months. It might still be there.
So we usually ask this on this podcast. What's your chicken or steak?
Steak.
Okay, steak, straight up. How about your favorite sport?
I would say now it's probably football.
Football
NFL
fan?
football, the Eagles, Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about music? What's your favorite music?
I listen to the Chris Stapleton channel on Sirius XM. It's number 63. It's the very best channel that's ever been invented because I don't know if you're a Chris Stapleton person or not, but he's terrific. But what's great about that channel, and there's probably a theme here for stuff, is one of the really bad things that's happened in popular music and those things is they're all like narrow,
Mm.
right? But on the Chris Stapleton channel, you can go from Loretta Lynn and Johnny Cash to AC/DC to Otis Redding.
Oh, I love that.
It's all over the map, and it's just one. All it's because it's set up really as his influences,
Yeah.
who influenced him, and so it's and I love that because the because I would say like, what's your favorite kind of music? I don't know. Sometimes I like bluegrass or country. Sometimes I like R&B. Sometimes I like um, AC/DC or something. Not all the time. Um, but that channel gets you all that stuff. So that's yeah, that's one of those other great inventions that again you don't want to lose the technology. It's really good stuff. And that's one of them there.
Oh, Ken, I can't thank you enough for the time you have here.
Awesome. Yeah.
And that was very deep, and I actually want to go more into it. So I'm gonna
get a pizza on the way home.
And now we're thinking pizza.
Giuseppe's. I'll get that in there. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you to come again. Maybe you can talk about particular subject.
Sure.
But for now, I can't thank you enough for the time, for everything you do for the community, for our beautiful home that we call it the North Country. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Yes.
And thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm actually thinking about what he said to close, which is the first time to close this. Upstate New York, Plattsburgh. Thank you for watching this. Have a great night, everyone.